What's up, guys? This is the not so daily dose with Skye. I'm here. I just want to talk about some things here with you guys today. Trying to ramp this up, trying to get myself back on it. This is always what I say. This is like the beginning of every freaking podcast now. I'm probably only going to keep this to YouTube and maybe Rumble. I probably will not put these small segments on podcast platforms. We'll see how that goes. I'm trying to get more guests involved so that I can actually have the podcast back up and running fully. So anyway, just continuing on, I have two other podcasts that I'm also starting. That's the reason I'm trying to branch out here, and I'm trying to branch out and diversify my content because I got a little bit tired of doing the same toxic politics all the time. So, with that said, here we are. I've got Against the Grain, which is a podcast about holding your own values and, basically being against the grain. That's why it's called that, of course, with three other dudes that I've known for a long time. So, we're pretty good friends. So, we're able to get into deeper conversation than you might hear on other networks and in other media outlets as well. We're based in Fort Worth, and we're trying to be a little bit more local focused, of course, but also answer some philosophical questions along the way, and also maybe give you guys some education on what you should do when it comes to politics, family, religion, all those things. We talk about it, and we want to give you guys a good, realistic, functional way that you can protect yourself against things that might happen in our society. And it's a matter of giving you guys something you can actually apply to your own life rather than just speaking and ranting. We want to give you guys solutions. That's kind of our thing. So if you guys want to check that out, obviously that's on Spotify and soon to be on YouTube as well, on my Daily Dose channel, by the way, and on Rumble on my Daily Dose channel. Also on Spotify, it is Against the Grain, and all podcast platforms as well, Against the Grain. Now, with all that said, that's the new podcast that I just started up and I've ramped up. That's why I've been kind of out of pocket. I have recently talked to Taylor Mundick, who was running for state rep in Fort Worth right now. We're actually pretty good friends. We talk pretty consistently and we hang out, play some pool, whatever. And I'm trying to get the lowdown on, our city council member candidates to see in Fort Worth to see what they're all about. So if they want to come on the show and talk to me, that'd be great. It would really be a good entry point for me to get the guests list back up and going and start building that. Since it's been so long since I've done a guest podcast, I think it was June of last year, which apologies for all of my actual avid listeners that were really into the Toasty podcast before I changed the names. Anyway, I'm trying to get back on that horse. Of course, it takes some time whenever you're doing a bunch of other content stuff. Like now I do wedding videos and I do commercials for businesses, and I'm trying to keep up the reels. I'm doing stuff for Paradox Church as well. I'm doing a lot of stuff, and I'm always doing a lot of stuff. That doesn't really stop, you know what I mean? So that's why this segment of my media life has taken a toll and a slowdown. So I'm trying to get back on it. But hey, what can you do, So again, Daily Dose with Skye. If you guys haven't already, please go subscribe to my channel. That helps me out a lot. No money involved. It's literally a few seconds of your time to just click that subscribe button. Maybe click the notification bell too, so you know whenever I have a new video. However, if you see my past videos recently, it's been few and far in between, so no promises here. But let's keep going. It's been pretty big week, I think, for just society in America in general. So American society in general, we have, I don't want to put it. The framing is always important. So whenever you're looking at news outlets and they're like, "We got some big wins today," they're talking about it as if it's a war, which I guess if you think the culture war is a real thing, then I guess, yeah, it is a war, but it's the right versus the left, and that's the kind of speak that I'm trying to get out of my vocabulary. It's hard, I will say that. When you've been stuck in an echo chamber so long, it really is hard to get rid of that style of talking. But with whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll just keep going. this last week we had Tucker Carlson getting fired from Fox News, which I'm sure you've heard about. I'm sure you've seen it all over the internet. If you're not on the internet, you probably live under a rock. But Patrick also had a good life, so I can't really blame you there. But if you've watched Fox News, which you probably do if you are off the internet, boomers, then you would see that he's no longer there. He got fired, probably Murdoch's call. I don't really know the details. I don't think anyone really knows the details. We have some sources saying some stuff, but he hasn't himself said, this is why they fired me and this is what happened. I think he's trying to stay out of that limelight and move on almost immediately, which honestly, I didn't watch his segment on Fox News to begin with. It wasn't really my thing. However, just because of this recent stuff that's happening with him, I went back and I've watched some of his takes on big things that have happened, like the 2020 election, and all the freaking crazy accusations that were being thrown around, a false election and all that stuff. And I say that even though I was like fully involved in that. Trust me, I know. I apologize to anyone that may have listened to me then. That's part of the reason why I got out of this podcast when I did, because it was a lot, and I I fell into a snowball, of course, with that of like, jumping on board. I was one of those people. I didn't necessarily always scream out like, yeah, it was stolen and all that stuff. That wasn't really me. However, I didn't say it wasn't either, and I also, kind of wanted to believe that in a way. So, that's my fault and that's my thing, that's my wrongdoing, I guess, there. But it shows you how easy it is for anyone, even me, actually looking up all this crap all the time, being engulfed in all this content from both sides, just so I can have a good bias on things, or an unbiased opinion on things, if it's possible. Still, we're able to fall into that. So just keep that in mind going forward, and I'm going to keep that in mind going forward as well. And I encourage you guys as listeners to call me out on that. Obviously, if I do those types of things, I won't change some of my beliefs just centered around religion and all of those things. So please, I can't say please don't try that. You can definitely do what you want. This is America. Freedom of speech, and I encourage that as well. I probably won't change those things, though. But if you come to me with a good point, that's something I need to think about, please do it. Anyway, Tucker Carlson's gone. Now, why did I preface that with a win? You think, that's not a win, that's terrible, right? It's not really, because if you think about my setup right now is kind of iffy, causing my neck to hurt and all this other stuff. Anyway, could also be the caffeine. Anyway, if you take into account all the things that have been going on with media and how they're going more independent, like more independent media people are coming out. You've got Crystal and Sagar on Breaking Points, which is a phenomenal news show. They basically just do the news on their own. It's not like a Steven Crowder, yes, I mentioned him on purpose, or Ben Shapiro type of thing, like talking head style only. Let me deliver some information and then give you my take on it. It's actually news. So Crystal and Sagar, of course, yes, they give you some of their takes because it's a free. The way they do it is more free. How do I say this? Wow, I am lost for words. The way they do it is more free, but they still give you the direct news first and foremost, always. And they separate their segments by giving themselves a monologue each towards the end of their show, where they do get to rant about whatever it is they want to that day. And they also are every single day. My point in bringing that up is they are one of the main, I think, independent news organizations right now that is on the rise. Hopefully they continue to keep it independent style because they already have people that work with them. I think people might get it twisted. Independent media is growing so rapidly, in my opinion, that it is no longer independent media. And I had this discussion with some friends on Against the Grain. Actually, if you guys want to go check out that podcast, you can. You guys already heard about it at the beginning of this episode, or this video, whatever. But I talked to them about it, and it actually hit me during this conversation when they asked specifically, well, then what's the difference What are you saying the difference is in big media and independent media then? When you say that, yeah, there's a lot more independent media growing up and doing good because there is independent big media as well. I was like, oh, that's a good point. I need to differentiate what those are because, until recently, I would think independent media is one dude like me doing exactly what I'm doing right now, broadcasting something, whatever it is, information, education, well, information on anything, whether that's education or inspiration or um, news or entertainment, whether that's those four things or all four of those things, whatever. But if I'm doing that, I hopefully will grow, right? Okay. So then I hire somebody else to do my editing, and then I hire somebody else to do my fact checking for me, so I'm not like an idiot out here screaming from the rooftops, and then it ends up being wrong, to help me out with my research on the back end. And you know, next thing you know, let's say I've got 5 people under me. All I'm doing is growing a company. It's the same thing it's always been. I started a business. It's a service people want. They get it. They either donate to me through, Patreon or whatever, or they become a subscriber to pay for it. So I'm giving them a service and they're paying me for that service. They're subscribers that are premium subscribers or whatever, which I don't have that, by the way. This isn't a plug. They do that, and the next thing you know, here I am. I've got a bigger studio. I've got more people. I've got this and that and blah 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 whatever. Breaking Points right now they've like Counterpoints, which is another show that's actually like a break off of theirs, I guess. And they still run it in the same style where there's only 2 people there. It looks like it's a small organization, small studio type thing. However, this thing is growing. So how would I differentiate independent media and big media? Well, I think independent media at this point is defined as an audience paid for service. I don't know how to explain that better. An audience funded organization, an audience funded media outlet, essentially. So you think like, well, how is Fox News funded? Haha. It's not funded by us that watch Fox News, actually. It's funded by those ads they run. Or and before you say, well, podcasts have ads too, or Breaking Points has ads too. Well, Breaking Points actually doesn't. They only do their own thing and they sell their own stuff always. So they have premium subscribers and that's how they do it. There's no ads involved in that. However, there's ways to run that where it's not the same as an organization either, like a Fox organization either. Anyway, ads, and they get paid by the state, or when I say the state, I mean by nonprofits or organizations around them that like what they do. They'll donate to Fox News or CNN, or in the most recent case with Twitter and Elon calling out state-funded news organizations, NPR. So whenever something is, and you think like the government doesn't directly pay NPR. Well, you're right. But organizations that also donate to, will lobby politicians, will also lobby news organizations. So, and maybe it's not really considered lobbying because they're not getting a direct, I'm paying you this, so you have to do this other thing that I want you to do. However, if you think there's not under the table deals being made, or, I should say recommendations for how they use the money they're getting being made, then I think you're sadly mistaken, and I think that that's not the world we live in. I think everyone will. Well, I don't think everyone does this, but I think that when money is involved and you're talking about millions of dollars, your logic changes, and I think it's inherent. I think that if let's say that all of a sudden this video gets tons of views, and like let's say I can blow up, and I get lots of money from that compared to what I usually have, which is, well, I'm middle class. Let's just say that. So all of a sudden I'm not thinking the same. That's how it works, and you have to be really careful and try really hard not to do that. So I can't, even though I want to fault them for how they run their organizations, the people that run Fox and CNN and the big media, and then also Congress and people that run our government, it's hard to realize, I think, for us on the other side, the plebs, if you will, that you probably do the same thing or you might change as well. Anyway, all that said, that was a very, holy crap. I am getting back into it. I love it, dude. I'm long-winded here, and it's because um, I like to talk. And I thought it would take some time, and I thought that I would need practice, which I still obviously need practice, trust me. But definitely not as much as I thought, I guess. Anyway, so bringing up to speed, though, defining independent versus big media, I guess. Like I said, it's audience funded versus ad funding and lobby funded. I guess I could say like that. That's it's not technically accurate, I know. So people that are watching this might correct me, and that's fine. You can. That's okay. Whatever. I'm just a dude talking about stuff, so whatever, man. But Tucker Carlson was fired, so that's a thing. That's a big deal. Why is that a big deal? It's not. It's not a loss, in my opinion. It's a good thing because I don't think. Well, for one, I bet he didn't really want to be there anyway, even though he's making millions of dollars a year. For two, they still have to pay him out, probably, most likely. We don't know for sure, I guess. Or maybe we do. I just haven't looked at it myself, so I'm not going to say anything. Thirdly, he can do his own thing. On Against the Grain, I actually said this on the most recent episode, which hasn't made it up yet. It's not uploaded yet, which I will upload it, but not yet. Anyway, I actually said, I'm like, Tucker Carlson freaking Trump 2024 or Tucker Carlson DeSantis 2024 or whatever, I said it wrong. DeSantis, Carlson, 2024. Trump, Carlson, 2024. Because Carlson could run as a vice president and he could freaking make it. However, that probably wouldn't be the play he would want to make. He would probably make a play for president himself. What it would end up happening is he would lose in the primaries, and then one of the primaries that win one of the guys that wins the primaries would be like, "You want to be vice president?" That's probably how that would work. Anyway, whatever. That's a freaking prediction. That's probably, crazy, wild. The point is it frees him up. It frees Carlson up. What else does it do that's good, in my opinion? If you like independent media and the way it works, so audience-funded, freaking awesome organizations that can still do what they need to do and do what they want and say the truth and not be censored because they created their own platform, essentially. If you like that, then the big media needs to fail. The corporate media needs to fail. And, maybe most of my base wouldn't like hearing this, but Fox News is also that. And they have been that for a long time. In fact, now that I'm doing a lot more looking into Tucker Carlson, he usually has an opposing view to CNN and Fox. He doesn't say it. He doesn't say Fox is dumb or whatever. He actually, he actually would just say like, "Oh, well, CIA killed John F. Kennedy," which I've said that on my old podcast before. Me and Matty B talked about this and did a deep dive on it, and we essentially concluded that, yeah, CIA probably in a group effort killed John F. Kennedy. So anyway, with that said, that means that's one more down. That's one big rock gone for the big corporate media failure. That's pretty much underway. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. I'm going to fix my setup real quick. I am dying here. Absolutely dying here. My neck is killing me. All right, we're back at it again. I just had to fix my setup. I don't know what's going on there, but maybe, maybe some problems from all this caffeine. I don't know, dude. Whatever. I run on caffeine. So that is about all I have to say there. Look, the next thing I want to ask or say, ask y'all? Whatever. Actually, I will ask y'all a question. If you guys like this type of content and you like what I do, please let me know that because I do this all the time, and I already told you guys at the beginning of this video, I'm doing a lot. I'm always doing stuff in media, content creation, whatever. If this doesn't work and it's not working for the people that like me and they don't want to hear this and they don't want to watch this, tell me so that I will change this and make it something you guys want, or completely get it out of my life, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's a wasted effort in a sense, and I don't want that to be the case. I believe that people need to know about these things and need to hear different takes and different perspectives, especially from the younger generation. Which I'm not 30 yet. I'm the probably borderline Gen Z essentially. So um, I think it's important that we have relatable content. So we're not watching, because there's a reason I didn't watch Tucker Carlson, and he doesn't really get my. He's not who I would watch. He's just not my style in a way, and everyone has a different style. And if you guys like my style, that's freaking awesome. Tell me about it. So anyway, big wins, man. This episode is really about the big wins, and I said I didn't want to use that language, so just know that I'm using that language because I can't, for lack of a better term. American society is making headway, I think, the way it probably should be going. Maybe other people don't agree with me. That's fine. Tell me about it. Whatever. Tucker Carlson's gone. Vice Media just reported recently, I guess today or yesterday. Today is Tuesday, May 2nd. So anyway, Vice Media reported they're headed toward bankruptcy, and this is from the New York Times first reported that the company has been seeking a buyer to avoid failure and could still find one, but chances are now considered slim. The reason they're considered slim? Well, because the company is firing people and making cuts to all their costs. Look, you hate to see it, I haven't really been in the news or looking at news or in content till probably 2018, 2019. Until then, I was just cruising and doing my own thing and thinking if it doesn't affect me, it doesn't matter, which, by the way, is not necessarily the way I would think. Um, Now, of course, I think leaving society would kill society. So if you really care about the society you're in, you should jump in and help. It's just like if someone on the street is getting their purse stolen, would you, and you were close to them and you were capable of running and catching a guy, would you sit by and watch it happen, or would you go help? And I don't think that's actually an overall yes. It's not a resounding yes from people right now. I don't think it ever would be, and some people don't have that in them to go and do that. That's not their thing. That's not what they were given. Their quote unquote gift. I would definitely do something if I saw it like that. So here we are. That's why I do what I do. The company went on to attract investments from major television companies like the Walt Disney Company, 21st Century Fox, and A&E Networks, and this is what happened. See, Vice used to be, from what I'm seeing, like I said, I wasn't in news, I wasn't in content, I wasn't in any of that till like 2018, so my problem with reporting on this or talking about it is, or just commentary, I'm not really reporting, trust me, I'm not a reporter, commenting on it is that I don't really know, because I wasn't around this thing whenever it was a good thing, I guess, whenever Vice was doing the things that everyone talks highly of, quote unquote alternative reporting, essentially. Apparently they went to North Korea and snuck in, and were able to get people out as well. That's crazy to me that even happened. Supposedly they also sent a reporter to literally ride in the same car as a lead of ISIS to know more about that organization, and they reported it back to, well, the news, which in America, which if you think about that now, that would not happen. Now, they may have people over there or whatever. The safety involved in that, is negligible. It's unsafe. That's what I'm trying to say in a very roundabout and convoluted way. The safety is negligible. It's so unsafe to do that. They probably would never want that. CNN would not send someone over there to do that because they would probably likely get killed. So, but Vice was not those people. They were like, nah, we're on the ground. We're boots on the ground, freaking reporting. We're making this happen. Like also after doing some digging, like in the case of Occupy Wall Street, which if you've ever seen Tim Pool, he always freaking talks about Occupy Wall Street, and it was a huge deal, and that's because that's probably where he got Probably say probably. That's maybe it's can be attested. I don't know, but that's probably where he got his start for reporting and being a journalist, was there on Occupy Wall Street for Vice. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to me that in 2017, apparently they were getting all these investments from other companies, and they were valued at 5.7 billion. Vice was, but wow, the company is reportedly struggling to sell its assets for more than 1 billion now. So less than 25% of the total value since 2017 is what they are now. So they lost over 75% of their value within the last 5 years or whatever. Former CEO Nancy Dubuck left Vice in February after 5 years in the role. The company's global president of news and entertainment reportedly shortly after. Apparently, the person that started Vice, James, James, who started Vice? Hold on. Why can't I remember his name? Oh, no. Holy crap, dude. It's got to be in this article somewhere, right? You guys are probably watching this right now and reading this and like, it's right there, dude. And I'm like trying to find it. Doesn't matter, dude. Apparently, he was a cool guy at once and at one time, and now he's not. I don't know, or not. Not that he's not a cool guy. That now he, I guess, fell to the woke narrative essentially. And where I wanted to go with that is, why is that a good thing for American society as a whole, not for the right or the left, for a society as a whole? Because they were they were another big media organization that got their funding from, you saw it, you know, maybe whenever I say audience funded, maybe that means my definition is wrong again. Because Vice was funded by Walt Disney, 21st Century Fox, and A&E Networks. Those are investments. And I guess maybe I want, wow, yeah, this is hard. Maybe I want people to be able to invest in companies that they believe in. That's the point of, or not point, that's one of the main attractions of capitalism, or attributes of capitalism, that I like, because it should be allowed. You should be able to invest in what you want to invest in. So I guess Walt Disney is their quote unquote audience, and they invested in Vice, and here we are, and they still fell for whatever they fell for. Are they an independent media organization, though? That's what I'm really asking. And I guess they would be, according to my latest definition that I literally just made up. Independent media being funded by audience, or being audience funded, is one of the main proponents. Maybe there's more. There's obviously more to it that I can't really think of right now, like specific things that make it independent versus a big media organization like Fox. Anyway, maybe even if Vice wasn't a big media organization, they were a media organization, or even if they're not like Fox or CNN, they were definitely doing the same stuff that a lot of these organizations are doing, which is pushing the woke narrative. And I hate to say that because, it's like a whole can of worms, and I think everyone has really gotten tired of that, as including me. And the definition of woke has been just like tossed around, and like it's like tossed like a salad, honestly. And so when you look at it, you're like, what's in this? Is it leafy greens? Is it iceberg lettuce? Is it romaine? Is it anything? Are there onions in it? You have no idea. The salad's been tossed, and it's just like, it's just a mess. Even though salads are good, salads are not a mess, but this specific thing is a mess. It's hard to tell now. Of course, there are some actual definitions you guys can go look up as far as the ideals surrounding quote unquote woke culture. But the biggest thing for me that I'm going to bring up in just a second is that the trans movement in kids. Like, so the trans movement moving down from, normal adult people making their decisions to, kids. Anyway, so that's a big deal to me. And it's a big deal that Vice, one of the big companies that were pushing it because of their employees, I guess, and because they fell for that, is failing. So the adage "go woke, go broke" is essentially coming true in this case. Now, we'll go to another company that recently, you guys should already know about this one, of course, recently had the same experience. This all this stuff I'm laying out right now is leading up to a point. By the way, just want to let you know, towards the end of this, I'll make my point. The big point that should get you guys fired up and should get you guys back in the game, so to speak, as far as fixing our culture. And I'm not even talking about just politics. I'm talking about the current culture war, if you're into that. Completely coming to a well, not coming to an end, but being reined in, being reined in, because right now it is not. Right now it is just it's all over the place, and I don't think people understand the effects of some of these things that are happening down the road. They don't see that. They don't see that at all. It's like, one example I can give you is the feminism movement in the 40s or whenever it was a big deal. And, me being born way after all that, I can say that it makes sense to me, because I wasn't indoctrinated in a society where men reign superior to women, right? If I was, I might be like, no, that's wrong because of my indoctrination. See, that's real. That does happen. But anyway, since I was born in current society, I think, yeah, that's good. That's good that they were pushing to be able to vote. You know what I mean? Like, come on, what are we doing here? But you can see how that has morphed and changed over time to now what we call, I guess, third wave feminism. Um, it's become just a completely different thing. It's now a completely different thing than it was. No longer is it simply equality for rights for women versus men. It's no, wait a second. Women are superior to men. And you may not see that now. You may not think that now. But slowly over time, this morphs and it will become that. I'm saying this as carefully as I can because I am not against women having rights and doing their thing and being left alone. Obviously, I'm not against that. Okay? Okay, good. Just want to make that very clear. But I am against the exact same freaking thing that women were against in the 40s or whenever that lady wrote a book, whatever. You're going to say you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about because you can't even name this thing and recall it. Yeah, I know. My recall is kind of off today, whatever. But yeah, I think you get my point. Anyway, moving on. Bud Light has dropped, sales have dropped 26% roughly in the final week of April leading up to today, which is May 2nd. And because of the transgender social media personality, Dylan Mulvaney, who, by the way, in my opinion, transgender is like full sex change and all of that stuff. Of course, it's just an opinion, right? So what do I know, But he does not have a sex change or any of that stuff. And he still claims transgender, and he is basically acts like a girl and all that stuff. Of course, he's a biological male. Whatever, dude. I'm not going to get into that specific part of it yet. However, this is the same situation. Bud Light went broke after going woke. So they sponsored this guy, this personality, the social media personality, and he is part of the transgender movement, which which would be connected to a woke idea. And has major pushback, and next thing you know, they're like, "Holy crap, what do we do?" And they put their marketing director on leave, and the marketing director on leave, and then the girl below him that also helped him make the decision on leave to do that. Now, I don't care about companies sponsoring other people. They can do what they want. That's kind of their choice. But in this case, you can see how it went terribly for them. So I talked about this again on Against the Grain. You guys will see that episode soon, but we kind of talked about this, had a discussion about it a little bit, and how the right does the same thing as the left. And I hate bringing it up like this, but this is how it is. Oof, sorry guys. The right bringing up um, companies that they don't like, and they'll do the exact same thing as the left. Cancel them, right? Even though I think there's a difference between canceling and boycotting. So boycotting, you're voting with your dollars. Canceling, you want everyone else to do what you ask. So you're essentially, that's what you're doing. That's it. Canceling is a selfish, very toxic way, I think, to handle someone doing something wrong, because it's only you that are saying they did it wrong, and it's your opinion. There's no law in place or any of that stuff in that case. Not to get too into weeds here, but boycotting is just voting with your dollars. So you're not going to buy that product, like Nike, or I don't know, Jordan recently on the podcast on ATG was also like Chick-fil-A for his own reasons, and he gave the reasons on the show. If you guys want to see it, that's fine. It's his thing, right? But in the same aspect, see, that we do that. We will boycott for our own reasons, which is perfectly fine. So I'm not going to hate on these people for not buying Bud Light because of all this. It is what it is. They chose it. They chose their line. That's fine. I don't even drink the stuff in the first place. So there's not really much boycotting in place for me. I just keep living like I was living before. But yeah, man, that's what's happening now. So their sales are down 26%. And the reason I'm jumping on board here and talking about this in the first place is only because Dylan Mulvaney, his audience, her audience, its audience, is mainly, predominantly younger, the younger people. So like below 18. Which, again, in my opinion, should be a stopping point for, you know what? It all is a stopping point for me, as far as what I believe. But especially in a normal functioning society, the stopping point for transgenderism should be 18. It should not be below that. There should not be a thing. Should not even be talked about. And you guys can go listen to Blaire White, I think her name is. Hold on one second. I'm getting this wrong. I want to butcher it. I don't want to butcher it. So let me be clear on this. This is a transgender, now female, which completely sex change and everything. And I think you guys know who I'm going to talk about. You know who it is or whatever. But why am I doing this right now? I'm trying to look this up while I'm talking on the podcast. See, this is the stuff that I hate. I hate doing this. I hate being the guy that has to look up all this crap while I'm talking to you guys right here on the camera. It's freaking annoying. I just want to have everything ready, laid out, ready to go. My fault. Didn't know I was going to bring up that point, so whatever. But that she would say she agrees. You know what I mean? We don't want that. We don't want that for our kids at all. So why is this a win? This is a win because, again, on the culture war side of things, I think that the majority of people actually don't agree. So they agree with me. They don't agree that this should be something that we're pushing in our culture. You have a very small number of people that, because of the internet and for some reason big organizations backing them up, they're able to scream louder than the majority, who honestly don't even scream. Like most of us don't even talk about it because we don't want to bring it up. because we don't want to tell them they're wrong, which is another freaking awesome point. I'll put it up on a reel later, which I'm going to start pumping out those again. Hooray! That was on a recent podcast I did with three girls. Which funnily enough, they are on Against the Grain. They might get their own show. I'm not sure yet. We had a good podcast, and I think there were some things we could have done differently, of course. But one of the girls, Missy, she was like, "Yeah, I just think that a lot of people like us don't want to actually tell them they're wrong, just flat out." And I was like, "Man, what a revelation, even though that's something that we knew, you know what I mean? Like, we already think that in our heads. It's just a matter of putting it out loud or behind a mic or in front of someone else that's right in front of you. If you go on the street right now, most people that you talk to would probably be mostly moderate, and they would be like considerate of your feelings, and they would say, yeah, I actually am on board with this. I agree with you. I don't agree with us putting this ideology in our schools or anything like that. So, this is a win. It's further pushback that has actually produced an outcome, not, some stupid press thing like Stop the Steal or whatever. You know what I mean? That turned into a huge can of worms that I don't think anyone really expected. Next on this same topic, I'll talk about this in Fort Worth. I'm going to bring it home because if you guys live here, great, that's awesome. I'm over here off Magnolia, and I love it. Fort Worth is like my favorite city ever. I've lived in Seattle or near Seattle, and I'm from East Texas, so like small town, East Texas, Lindale, where Miranda Lambert's from. Yeah. Anyway, which if you care about that, that's great. Good for you. But Fort Brewery and Pizza, which is a local place, you guys obviously know about that. If you don't know about it, well, I guess don't check it out. Now that I'm saying this, maybe this is a boycott we actually get on board with. But at Fort Brewery and Pizza, they had a drag show. Now, I want to be clear here. You're looking at the screen, you're seeing that they held a family-friendly drag show. That's in quotes because I did some digging here. Their ad for the drag show and their gallery and whatever else and their marketing for it did not say family-friendly drag show. It just said drag show. So what that leads me to believe is, since Fort Brewery and Pizza is a family-friendly place, they tacked that on to this article and the descriptions they're using all over the reporting for it, right? Which, whatever, they can do what they want, I guess, but I'm just letting you know there's a little bit of a framing difference here. It's a framing difference, really, is what it is. Because they didn't say, Fort Brewery and Pizza did not come out and say, bring your kids. That's not what they did at all. It was a normal, I will attest to not being there first, but second, from what I'm gathering, it was a normal drag show. Okay, great. I still don't agree with that necessarily, but also they can do what they want. They're a business, a privately owned business, right? Now that I laid the framework for what was going on, imagine a family-friendly place that has a drag show getting families, having families go there. Well, of course they would. Why wouldn't they? It's a family-friendly place, and they have a drag show, right? There was also a cover charge, so as to make sure that you don't just walk in there and not know that was going on, and you're like, oh, crap, what do I do? And like, if you had kids, right? If you have kids that you don't want to necessarily see that kind of thing yet, or you don't want to be around that environment, and you walk into it unwillingly and unknowingly, crazy, right? Well, they had a cover charge, so I think that kind of negated some of that. Now, let me bring you to the NC movement. NC movement is the New Columbia movement, a grassroots advocacy group and fraternity founded on the principles of faith, family, and fraternity. We can do no otherwise. Not a very big organization, I guess. They have 4,000 Twitter followers, whatever. By the way, this article that I'm kind of reading right now, which is on Twitter, it's not really an article, it's just a tweet, is Protect Texas Kids. Now, they were outside the building, essentially praying, and peacefully protesting, if you will. So, like, their praying was a peaceful protest. They were surrounded around the building. Not surrounded, they were outside the building. I don't know how many people were there. I don't know if it was two of these NC movement people. Not really positive. However, I know it was enough to cause police to be there to make sure nothing went, haywire. And apparently there were three people dressed in all black, similar to Antifa, there that were protesting the peaceful protesters. Hard to explain, right? So there were three people there that were protesting against NC movement. Wow. Supposedly, for the past year or so, this NC movement has grown and become a thing, and they've been doing protests like this around the Texas or DFW area. And these same three people dressed in all black, similar to Antifa, would be there consistently, right? At this event, though, in Fort Worth PD actually got into an altercation because of the people that were dressed in all black, the quote unquote Antifa members. I think that at this point, anyone that is dressed in all black at a protest is just automatically considered Antifa. However, I want to make it clear, I'm not even sure still, after all the stuff we've been through since 2016, I'm not even sure still what Antifa actually is, or if it is actually an organization. That's just me saying that. It could be, for all I know. However, I just know that the news and most people just refer to everyone that's dressed in all black at a protest doing aggressive things is an Antifa member. Cool. Clear that up. Great. Awesome. Now here we go. They, I guess, pepper sprayed some people, and the police got involved, and then they kind of shoved the police officer, and the police officer was like, well, that's not going to fly. You can't shove me around like that. That's crazy. And next thing you know, they're arrested. I don't know what happened after that. Like, they could have been let go. I don't freaking know. I mean, like, really, you don't really get the whole picture here, right? So whatever. But it's the framing's important, because I think they are framing it in a way, not even framing. They're kind of just defaming Fort Brewery. Even though I don't really care about Fort Brewery, I'm just letting you know what's happening here. I'm being honest. So they're defaming them by saying, like, they were inviting children. Now, I looked at the gallery ad, the marketing flyer, and all that stuff, and they could have deleted some stuff that I didn't see, I guess. But the flyer is a design that isn't necessarily just edited. It wasn't like they just put a little paragraph and they can edit that. It wasn't a post on Facebook I was reading that can be edited. It was literally a flyer on their website that says, this is what's happening on whatever date, and I think it was like 2 Sundays ago or something. And it didn't say, bring your kids. It wasn't on it didn't invite kids. It just said, this is a drag show at Fort Brewery and Pizza. And the guy that owns Fort Brewery and Pizza, or the marketing PR agent, whoever, I don't really know his title, he came out and was like, we're a family-friendly place. If parents bring their kids, that's kind of their prerogative, right? And he's right. He is right. Or he or she. I don't even know if it was a girl or a boy. They're right. I think this is on parents, and I think we talked about this in Against the Grain as well. This is on parents, man. And you might be thinking at this point, why are you bringing up all this crap from Against the Grain? Well, because I don't really talk a lot, or I'm trying to not talk a lot, because there's 4 people in that podcast that all have a say, and I don't want things to get missed. So maybe I should just stay out of that one, and I just kind of control some of the media parts of it. And that's how that goes. Anyway, bottom line is, guys, that's the big win. The big win here is, culture war being won in a way, I guess, or changed for the betterment of society. And that's all I can really say. I can tell you that that's a big deal in my opinion, because it might light some fires for people that maybe were just tired of it and think that their say never gets, heard, and maybe they thought, politics is dead and things like that, which politics might be dead the traditional way, you know. I think now we have to play a culture game to make any progress in politics. And I think that's lost already among most of politicians because they're all older than 40, you know, 50. I don't know what age. They're older. They're boomers, right? And Gen Xers, and they don't see it. So anyway, that's all I got to say. That's the main thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and that is our podcast for today. Now you guys will obviously see some more of me, hopefully, and me just ranting, talking, commenting on whatever the crap I see. Yeah, man, this has been a Daily Dose with Skye, or I should say not so Daily Dose with Skye. You will see Against the Grain on this channel as well, and you will see some other podcasts probably and some other things that I do on this channel, and let's bump these numbers up, huh? Yeah, so go subscribe, like this video if you liked it, whatever. If you didn't like it, you can also tell me that, even though YouTube removed the dislike, which is dumb to me. I need to know what you guys even want to hear, you know what I mean? So here we are. I will see you guys later, and stay toasty. Toasty.